shocking as well that you still had to see this. I forgot that you saw this ages ago.
Yeah, they did a press screening, the last one of the year actually, which was run about it was like the 12th.
It was before
or
we
something.
went out. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And it's been really annoying because I can't speak to anybody about it. I can't. And then if anybody, when the adverts were on and stuff like that, and people said, "Have you seen that?" I says, "Yeah, I've seen it." And I thought, well, I'm not going to tell you anything because you don't want to spoil any film.
No. And
you really don't want to spoil a film like this.
Especially when there's been such a build-up to the reveal and stuff like that, because I muted a lot of keywords, whatever you want to call it, on Twitter, and I didn't really go on Blue Sky, and I came off TikTok as well because it came out in the States on Christmas Day, and I thought there's a whole week where somebody could post a picture or something that you just don't want to see, so I was like, I'll just take myself off because I really wanted to go into this so blind and so fresh to everything.
Because there was a lot of publicity around it. Obviously the stars were out talking about it, and Bill Skarsgård was talking quite extensively about his voice work and things like that. So
I know, because I didn't know what to expect, because obviously the original was a silent film, so you're going into this completely, you don't know what those characters sounded like or what those actors sounded like or whatever, so it was quite, I tried to avoid basically everything apart from looking at red carpet looks, because I just think that, seriously, that entire Skarsgård family are the most genetically blessed individuals I've ever seen. I think it was the London premiere, and he had on that black silk kind of polo neck sort of blouse thing, and I was like, how do you carry that off? Because you're nearly 7 foot. How do you carry that off so elegantly? So yeah, and it's quite a stacked cast as well. When you look at it, quite a few big names. So I was really, really wanted to go in as blind as humanly possible, and then saw it in IMAX as well, which I think was quite a benefit. I think that was a good decision.
Well, we'll talk about your IMAX experience when we talk about the film, I think, rather than just now. But brilliant.
I would still really like to go to the Uphill, though. That's one of my life goals at the end of January in Lerwick. But that always seems to go ahead, regardless of weather, despite the fact that there's quite a lot of fire involved in that. But I would really love to see that in real life and actually appreciate, because they do the big procession, they burn the boat, there was a big ceilidh, and whilst I'm not gifted at ceilidh dancing, I think it would be good fun to just to see it all and take it all in, I think.
Yeah, and let's face it, most people just muddle their way through ceilidh dancing. They just remember what they did at their school socials and stuff like that. Which I remembered well. I still remember how to do the majority of the dances.
Oh, really?
I'm not so good at an eight-some reel, but I can definitely do all the dash.
So you can do strip the willow and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, the military two-step and all this. It's been kind of ingrained for some reason because of we did it from primary school,
and I don't know if it was the same for you, but every December you didn't do PE, you did Scottish country dancing. So I remember the Gay Gordons, the Canadian barn dance as well. Really bizarre one. Strip the willow, and as you say, dashing white sergeant. A lot of it's just getting thrown around, or especially if you're small, it's just people throwing you around at speed and then back into the next line where you're supposed to remember your steps. So yeah, I think most people make it up as they go along.
Yeah, I mean, they're always really helpful if it's a band and they talk you through most of it. And that takes up most of the time, to be perfectly honest. But it's these sort of what do you call it, muscle memory. You just kind of go, heel toe, 1, 2, 3. You're doing it before you actually realise what's actually happening.
So. Throw in a couple of whoops and hollers as you're spinning somebody around.
Yes,
that's it. You're a Scottish country dancer. Yeah. Ladies, take your heels off. Oh, actually, no. Part of me is you take your heels off because you can build up more speed, but then you're barefoot and you risk being stood on. So
there's all sorts of problems. Yeah. So was the cinema busy on the 2nd?
It was, but interestingly, it was because everybody was taking their kids to see Mufasa.
Right, okay.
So our screen was busy, but definitely not full, which I was quite surprised at. I think as well, I don't know if it was maybe just because we went right on the 2nd, maybe people weren't going out yet. but definitely there was a lot more people. So basically, obviously, when you get to Silverburn, IMAX is this side and the other screens are that side, and everybody was taking their kids in, as I say, to see Mufasa, which I had forgotten was out. And then I think maybe Sonic 3 or
Sonic
4
the Hedgehog, yeah,
as
Sonic
well.
3
Yeah. So that was quite busy. But I mean, I would say that there was a fair, I would say it was like 3/4 full in the IMAX, which is no mean feat because it is quite a big screen. But yeah, I would definitely say it was more families and kids that were out. It was obviously just the keen beans that were there to see Nosferatu.
I think it will do reasonably well, to be perfectly honest. I think it'll be all right.
I think it will as well. What I will say is interesting, though, I would say it was like maybe 90% men in the cinema as well, which I thought was quite an interesting split because I always feel like vampire films attract a lot of women. So it was interesting that the divide in the cinema was a wee bit the other way.
Yeah, I suppose I think it kind of depends on the vampire film itself, because
it's not a sparkly vampire film.
Yeah, there are a number of vampire genres, if you like, aren't there? You know, it's not just the one anymore, so or ever, I suppose. You know, but yeah, all good. Yeah, I've just had a quiet time over the last couple of weeks. Just watched bits of telly and stuff. Nothing in particular. You know, the odd movie and stuff. I watched Craven the Hunter, obviously, as just shared with you guys,
so
which was actually
you and Simmy both said it was okay.
Yeah, it was all right. It wasn't a film that you would think would be or would class as being in the top 10, which obviously it never made the top 10, but I did give it a wee mention because it wasn't nearly as bad as some people were saying. It's far better than Madam Web. It really was. But, you know.
See, sometimes I think that these really harsh initial reviews, in a way, sort of skew your expectations as such that, so yeah, you will come away going, oh, I actually quite enjoyed that. That wasn't that bad. I think that's why I feel that way about Venom, because it just got absolutely ripped to shreds. And I've seen the first two, and I'm like, I actually quite enjoyed these. They were just good fun. So I think sometimes when the reviews, I mean, let's be honest, these films are not, I don't mean made to be taken seriously. That's not what I mean, but they're not cerebral. So you're not reviewing that or looking at that in the same way that you would, for example, you know, Nosferatu. So I think to sabotage it or in your review when it is kind of just meant to be a sort of light entertainment piece.
Yeah, it seems to be with some films that they just get hammered well in advance of anybody actually seeing any footage, and then it doesn't help when there's like reshoots or the film's put back. Like Craven was put back a couple of times.
Yeah,
it was a victim of the writers' strike, the writers and actors' strike, because I think they were meant to be doing reshoots then, so it was put back because of that and other undisclosed. Because it was meant to be in the summer, you know, it was meant to be big summer film, and when that happened, like reshoots is normal. That's I don't know why you still get reports about that and being, you know, films in trouble.
Makes it sound like plagued by, you know, trouble or something.
So many films now have a budget for reshoots. And if they don't use it, they don't use it. But if they do, then that's fine. And you're talking about all sorts of big sort of superhero films, Marvel films that like Endgame and Infinity War, both had reshoots. But nobody says anything about that, you know, and I'm sure like James Cameron, he's just constantly shooting and reshooting on the Avatar films. So, but nobody says anything. Oh, you know, the whole franchise is in trouble or anything like that.
But then Nosferatu's been sitting in the bank for 10 years and has been recast 3 times.
Yes.
You know, it doesn't mean a film's in trouble. It just sometimes things take a while to either get up off the ground or, you know, when things are being shot, they haven't quite worked the way, or you're not even picking up sound or dialogue the way that you thought you had. It's not a crime to reshoot, but it adds to the narrative of this is a failing film, doesn't it? In some cases, obviously.
Yeah.
Not in others.
Yeah, it's always the sort of the negative stuff that is put out there to, I don't know, clickbait, isn't it? That's all it is. It's to try and get hits onto a website. Because, like, I don't know about you at the moment, but on Facebook, every single time I go into Facebook, I'm getting all of these, you know, follow this page, follow that page, and it's just constant.
Yeah.
And there was one yesterday, it was Gamer Bible, which I'd never heard of. I don't know. And the headline was Stranger Things recasts major role, but it's still going ahead or something, and they had like an image of like 3 of the main characters from the TV show. But when you read the article, it was about the stage show. How how there's the Stranger Things stage show in London. So it was about that, and the fact that one of the main characters was being recast, which happens all the time in stage shows.
Yeah.
Actors come in, do 6 months, 9 months, and then they move away and do something else because basically they're fucking sick of it because they've done it for like 8 performances a week for weeks and weeks. So they tend to recast a lot of performances, or actors take time off from performances. You hear about that. Actor doesn't, like, for instance, in the Rocky Horror Show, Jason Donovan is in that, but he doesn't do like Tuesdays and Saturdays or something like that because he had other commitments. And then people were complaining that they went to see the Rocky Horror Show and he wasn't in it. But even though it's been well publicised before him. But yeah, this is an example. The Netflix, the Stranger Things one is an example of there's this sort of clickbait headline. Oh, somebody's going to be leaving, they're going to be changing it. And then you go through and it's like, it's got nothing to do with what they're implying it is.
It's so damaging though. Like, reputationally, if you're one of those actors that's featured in that picture, this is how rumours start about, oh, maybe so-and-so's not behaving on set or whatever. Like, I just think this is such an appalling state of journalism. Like, I understand that websites are desperate for clicks and eyeballs and all the rest of it. I really, really do. I just think that's so damaging. And especially like in the film industry and in television as well, obviously, it's not just the big faces whose jobs are at risk here. We're forgetting about all the people that work, behind the scenes, your Foley artists, your dolly grips, your catering, your insurance, all of that sort of stuff. That if there's these sort of online smear campaigns that do seem in some cases really targeted to make a film tank, it's not, the actor or whoever it is, if they're big enough, will brush that off and they'll just not talk about it in future interviews. But it's everybody else that's connected with it that's damaged by it.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. Like with Craven, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, he is already moved on.
He's in line to be Bond.
Yeah, and he's obviously brushed off Craven now, and he'll be talking about Nosferatu, for instance, because obviously involved in that. And then, like you say, there's all the other stuff that he's involved in, all the Bond discussions and everything. But yes, it's just horrible. And because now, like, I have my work laptop has, the bar at the bottom, and it gives you like a wee feed about what's it'd be the news or the weather, and you click on something that brings up the whole page, and it's all these news articles, it's scrolling news articles, and each one of them is a tease for something. It doesn't actually tell you what it's about. It just gives you a wee tease, and it's worded in such a way as, oh, you have to click on this to find out the story, and then you click on it and it's maybe about 100, 120 words at the most, and it's just all adverts. It's just complete waste of time. Because I don't know about you, I know I'm having a wee bit of a rant here, but see, when you look at stuff online, like articles and stuff, and you can hardly read them because of the stuff.
100%. Yeah. There was that thing I sent you guys, I can't remember what it was, but it was an article from the Poke that I thought was quite funny, but then I sent it to you, and I was like, actually, neither of you will be able to read that, because it's like, and when you try to click the adverts off, because I've got sausage fingers, you inevitably end up clicking on them, which opens up like 5 or 6 different tabs, and what I do now, if there's a headline where I think, I kind of want to read that, I always check the comments first, because there will be some brave soul who will have summed up the article really succinctly in like 15 words or less, and I thank them for their service, because I can't be bothered clicking on all the stuff. It's it's the state of journalism more generally, and it's really sad, because there's a lot of good websites and good magazines that are closing down because they're not getting the revenue and the clicks and stuff anymore, and then you've got stuff that's somehow surviving, but only because, as you say, it's about 120 words and the rest of it's absolutely plagued with adverts. So it's
but even then, within the 120 words, there's hardly any information. It's just it's this very sort of basic stuff that you can tell that it may be an experienced journalist or someone who really knows what they're doing, but they've been told, make this available to the lowest common denominator. Just, don't actually...
Or worse, they do things where they pick up tweets, and it's like a tweet hinted at such and such, and you're like, unless it's actually coming from the person or their PR, this is the pits.
Yeah, it's like when there's some sort of like a problem article about something, and they say, you know, this person, you know, there was an angry tweet on Twitter, and you're thinking, that's all it is. Twitter is just angry tweets. There's nothing subtle about it, you know. And it's usually like one person or two people they're talking about, and you're thinking, you do realise there's 60 million people in the UK, and you're basing an article on the fact that two people complained about something. Yeah.
Although Elon has said he's going to make it a place of positivity.
For who?
Exactly. The algorithm is going to punish negative tweets. And interestingly, some people I know that have Twitter but only use it, like, for example, to get in, like, now if you try to get in touch with like Scottish Gas or whatever, and you can't phone them and you can't email them and you can't speak to a human, so they'll tweet, right? Because everyone knows that if you tweet it out, the company's more likely to get back to you because they don't want the publicity of a bad tweet out there. So are you going to get punished for if you tweet that out and say, hey, can you help me because nobody's replying to X, Y? It's, as you say, positive for who? It's a very...
Yeah.
He's come out and said the algorithm will punish negativity. And I was like, well, that's all of Scotland gone then, because of quite a negative bunch. But yes.
You've got to wonder if Elon Musk is actually going to start censoring posts about him, because there's been an awful lot of them come up over the last while, because he's so heavily involved in US politics. People have been dredging up photos of him from when he was younger, and he was like partially bald, and his face looks subtly different. So he's obviously had work done in his face, and he's got either a wig or something going on there as well. And they're dredging up all sorts of things about his family and his past. Like, see, his grandfather, he was one of these people who believed in, like, basically the workforce working for you. You don't get a salary. You get like food credits and things like that in order to work for you. And it's like basically overthrow of the Canadian government kind of thing. And he moved to South Africa. It's really, I read a wee bit of the stuff, and I don't know if it's totally true, because obviously it was just one article I read. I didn't read, like, follow up on anything, but it's kind of damning as well, the fact that the stuff that he's doing now is sort of feeding back to then. And again, conspiracies.
Well, this is it, right? So given that, Trump in particular has been all build the wall and all the rest of it, they're now talking about easing these visa, I can't remember, they've got it's like a couple of letters and a number, these visas for America to allow talent to come in for certain roles, i.e. tech or whatever, from abroad. And, Trump came out and was like, well, I've spoken to Elon, he's a very great guy and all the rest of it. And it's like, well, if we have the talent here, we would use it. And it's like, wait a minute, I thought you said you were going to home grow the talent and that it was you would create jobs and all the rest of it. So it's so shifty, whatever they're doing, because obviously Elon led the big back into the office rant about Twitter employee or ex-employees and stuff like that as well. And there's been criticism of him recently as well, because anytime he's been doing like public speaking appearances, he started bringing his child, that one with the barcode name.
Yes, yeah.
And people are saying like he's using the child as like a human shield, which is a really horrible thing to suggest. But his ex-partner, I think it was Grimes he had that baby with, has come out and said, can you please stop using our son for photo opportunities? He hasn't chosen to be famous or whatever. So I think there's more shit due to spill out. I'm quite convinced. Plus the fact that Meta have announced this week that they are flooding Facebook and Instagram with AI accounts. Ostensibly, they're saying it's to make a better experience, but what they'll really be doing is promising advertisers, like, maybe in the past it was you could only reach 100,000 accounts if you spend this much money, but now because they flooded it with all this, you can reach 500,000 or whatever it is. So it's just, the internet is just becoming a very strange place. And as someone who, I remember when we got internet in the house, I was in fourth year at school, and as someone who sort of straddled the not having internet and remembers using Encyclopedia Britannica to do our homework to this, I can't wrap my head around it. It's strange. It's really, really strange.
Yeah, a lot of it's got to do with regulation, because initially with the internet it says, no, there's not going to be any regulation. It's going to be, across borders, anybody can see the information. And then obviously that kind of changed when they tried to get into China, and China says, no, you're not doing it. It says, well, we'll change. We'll not put in, we'll put blockers on anything that comes into China. And they went, fine. But it's just kind of gone from there, and it's whoever's in charge of it. That's what it comes down to, isn't it? So you've got these tech bros, if you like, these people who, they have agendas, whether it be financial or whether it be political. They've all got agendas. And
of course,
look at the amount of money they've all made. They will not be able to spend that in like 20, 30 lifetimes. It's just, an obscene amount of money that they make and continue to make, but yet they impose rules on people. And like Facebook, when it started, had no advertising on at all. It was just people chatting to each other and all this sort of stuff.
Reconnecting and
yeah. But then when you monetize these things, and Twitter was the same, you occasionally got adverts, and now it's every third post you get an advert. And Facebook's the same, Instagram's the same. It's just all about making cash. And they obviously do, so it's getting to the point where people are actually switching off from it. Yeah. And the problem is that you only get the content that you, or the algorithm thinks that you want to see.
Yeah, so it becomes an echo chamber.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You just hear from the same people, and then when you drift out of that, which is quite easy to do actually in Twitter, because if you go into a post and then like one of the comments is something else, and if you click on that person, you're thinking, oh my fucking God, what have I just jumped into here? It's just completely mental. It's unbelievable, the stuff that people are saying online, because there's no recourse.
Yeah, well, I said to you and Simmy, I had read that Men Who Hate Women, which really unsettled me just generally. But then I hopped so the author has had to come off social media completely because she regularly gets these various threats and whatever. But she does have it's called the Everyday Sexism Project, and that does have social media accounts. So I jumped onto that on Twitter just to have a look. Comments were exactly as you can imagine. Went on to Goodreads just to log that I'd read it, noticed it was flooded with 1-star reviews, and I was like, started reading those, and I was like, oh, I know exactly where this is going as well. So it's not even, there's no subtlety in it, there's no nuance in it, it's just this really obvious pylon of hate across, and on Goodreads of all places. Who's going on there to write shit about people? But it just, in a way, it's one of these things where it's just a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you start reading this stuff or seeing this stuff, you just see it in these patterns, and it's usually as women that are targeted in this case. And it's just, you can tell from the minute you look at somebody's profile, their profile picture, or the flags that they have in their
see, just by having a flag.
You shouldn't be allowed on the platform.
Yeah. That should be one of the initial questions. Which flag will you choose? And if they choose a flag, you say, right, you're banned.
What I love as well is so many Americans on Twitter, because obviously the emojis are really small, but they've been using, I think it's the flag of Liberia or something, because it looks really similar to the United States, but just isn't. So that did make me chuckle as well. But yeah, most of it's a toxic cesspit, apart from obviously the Moviescramble social channels.
Yeah, give us a chance, so we'll get there.
Yeah. I think if we put Simmy in charge for a few days.
Oh, for God's sake, yeah.
So just let him list all the films that he's been watching and enjoy the reaction.
But that's, we're joking about it, but it doesn't take much for, to get latched on to some, even small websites get completely hammered sometimes just because they have said something during a podcast or whatever, and they just get complete pelters but from the mob, because it just needs a couple of people to post, this person said that, this person said the next thing, and we don't believe it, or we don't believe in it, so therefore, hammer them, 1-star reviews, all that kind of thing, which would be better than no reviews, I suppose, at the moment. But there's a good and bad in every situation.
Yeah, what is it? There's no such thing as bad publicity and all the rest of it. So
yeah.
well, honestly, I fell down a complete Nosferatu rabbit hole yesterday. There are some people that are like, I wouldn't need 3 nights, I'd do them in 1 and all this sort of thing. And I'm like, really? This is not the look that he was going for. But more than anything, I've been fascinated watching Eggers talk about his process. Like, he just seems like such a voracious reader, and like he's just consumed by the history of a particular location or whatever. I mean, already there's a list of here's all the villages that he filmed at if you want to go on a Dracula hunt and all this sort of thing. So yeah, he's very methodical. I like that.
Does he talk a lot about his films in those sort of terms, or does he leave it up to the viewers to sort of interpret?
No, he definitely talks about the research that he's done.
Right.
Because he has sort of been like challenged on the look of. He also gave an interview which is fantastic, where he said that for the final scene, like the final scene, they did also have it rigged that Bill Skarsgård would be bleeding out of his anus, because obviously he bleeds out of everywhere else in his body, but they felt that detracted from the emotional moment and they were worried people were going to laugh, so they literally had to put a cork in it.
Nice. Okay.
Which I thought, imagine just like, I mean, he's already in that suit and like he's rigged up to start. And imagine being like, right, Bill, we're just going to just put a cork up your fake bum because we can't have it bleed anymore. And
the fact that he get fitted up for a fake bum as well,
Yeah. Well, he wanted to point. I watched an interview with him, and he made a point of saying everything was a prosthetic. And I know that Nicholas Hoult took home his prosthetic penis in a frame.
Nice.
As you do.
Excellent.
Honestly, I could happily watch it again. I just thought that was such
I'm going to watch it again, if I get
think
the chance.
I will. I did get Chris to watch Revenge last night, and actually having rewatched that now, and like there's so many elements in that cropped up in the substance as well, like the close-ups of the chewing and the blood spat. I mean, that final scene where they're chasing each other around that house.
Chasing each other around the house, and they're slipping in the blood. Oh, yeah. Aye.
But I was laughing because when she's like obviously out her tits on that drug and she's using the beer can to sort of cauterize the wound, Chris was like, she's got an exit wound. And then, of course, she stands up in the next scene and you can see that she's on her back as well. And I was like, the thought of that, her back as well. Also, by the way, The Vourgelak is on Amazon Prime. I think you will like that. Chris turned around to me at one point and basically went, what the fuck are we watching? But I think you will like it.
Nice. Okay, good stuff. I will add it to my list of things to watch. So yes, I'm definitely looking for more sort of new stuff to watch.
And have you seen Kneecap on Amazon as well?
No, I have not. That's on my. I've bookmarked that as on my list as well. So yeah, primarily based on your recommendation, because I saw the publicity for it and read some of the stuff about it, and I thought, it might be okay, might be good, but
it's great.
When you get recommended it by a colleague, then.
And no trauma. I promise there'll be no sleeping with the lights on. It's all absolutely fine. No, I really enjoyed that. I mean, I do like their music and I do listen to their music anyway, but I like the fact that they were quite obviously taking the piss out of themselves and were willing to do so. So they're both on Prime as well. And then I watched The Iron Claw. Oh my God. I was not expecting to be so... Because I don't know anything about wrestling, but Chris had wanted to see it and I knew Sammy had said it was good and he'd obviously put it in his top 10. I was bawling. Like, and as Sammy said, they've actually toned the trauma down because it's like you wouldn't believe all of the bad shit that has happened. And I mean, Zac Efron, I think, is really. I really liked him in, was it Orson and Me, the one where he was the young boy sort of working for Orson Welles, and obviously Greatest Showman and stuff like that. But he is phenomenal in this. Like, just again, one of those things, kind of like with Nicholas Hoult in Nosferatu. It's like, I didn't know you had that performance in you.
So yeah, he's come a long way since High School Musical 3.
Yeah, a bit like Robert Pattinson in a way, though. I mean, talk about, you know, your sort of sexy vampire trope. He obviously was the sparkly vampire.
Yeah.
And his career's just been phenomenal to watch. Obviously, working with Eggers and the like since.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I rewatched The Batman because it came on to Netflix.
Did it?
Before Christmas. Yeah, it was on Amazon Prime, but for whatever reason, I didn't watch it, and I just watched it again on Netflix, and it's phenomenal. His performance is brilliant in it.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
And did you point out Glasgow every time you saw it? Did you do the Leonardo DiCaprio meme?
You only see it at the end. It's
the necropolis.
Yeah, I think that's the only part of it that they actually shot in Glasgow by the looks of things, because I couldn't recognise, even with, you know, with the set dressing and stuff, you can still tell when something's quite familiar, but I couldn't really see it apart from the necropolis at all. So.
And what was it? Batgirl was the one that was filmed in Glasgow. Oh, and
it was,
canned, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was all down at Trongate and all that. It was. It was all filmed down there. You can understand that because of the buildings down there. There's old, sort of very
like the panopticon and stuff like that that's down that end. And that's a shame. Also, my TV show that I enjoyed, the franchise that I recommended to you both, has just been cancelled after one season.
Really? I just started watching it. I watched the first episode of it and I thought it was really good.
I mean, Richard E. Grant is just so good in it. He's just having such a good time. And yeah, it's been cancelled. Apparently, they just weren't getting the viewing figures, which is a shame.
Yeah,
but it's still worth watching to the end. It still is a good series.
Black Doves, have you seen that?
No, it's on. I've put it on my watch list. I watched Rivals first because I was like, I just want something light, and that delivered on all front. Like, I genuinely never thought I'd be rooting for Danny Dyer so much in a program as I was.
I won't go into details, but it's excellent. Black Doves is.
It's the spy. I keep seeing it everywhere. It's the spy thriller, isn't it? I've put it on my list. Yes. So I'll watch that. And I've also got 100 Years of Solitude that came onto Netflix as well, which I've still not touched. So there's 2 to watch.